Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we will be looking at some phrase from St. Lucia, and that phrase is Che Campeche. Now the concept for these videos is taking a word or a phrase or something found in the Creole culture of St. Lucia. This island is located in the West Indies, so-called West Indies, in the Caribbean, between Martinique and St. Vincent, near Barbados. This Creole culture is a formulation of African, European, and a lot of indigenous knowledge is also found in that culture. So what I do is I try and get a word, an interesting word, and dig into it. And what I've been finding out is that there is a lot of information that you could find out and dig into from this local knowledge and expand out and figure out about its origins and the effect that it has had on history, or its historical effect or concept. Also, I'm finding out that a lot of the products that were discovered after or found by the Europeans after they traveled out of Europe into the Caribbean really spurred on their economy and helped develop Europe. Some of the examples are like cotton, cocoa, and today this plant that we're going to talk about, called the Campeche tree, is no different. It is Amatoxylum campechium, the Campeche tree. Like I said, we have this phrase in St. Lucia which goes Che Campeche. Now Che Campeche means to be tough, to be hard, or to be the heart of the wood. Now from that we find out that the Amatoxylum campechium played a very important role in the European history, especially when it came to fabrics, or the clothing and textile industry, or dyeing of fabric. So the modern nation of Belize was developed from logging, which was established by the English. And the scientific name of the tree literally means bloodwood. So Che Campeche means the heart of the Campeche. Che Campeche. Che Koa, heart, Campeche. So it's Hema being Greek for blood and Xylon for wood. So Hematoxylum campechium, the bloodwood. So basically we now find out that this was such an important wood to Europe. After the Spanish came into the area of Mexico, which is between southern Mexico and Belize and Honduras, they noticed that the Maya were using a dye on their face to body paint and also for their cloths. At that time in Europe, they were drab colors like grays and browns, and so they decided that, wow, this is a very interesting color, and they literally started a logwood trade that's helped develop and spur on the textile industry and dyeing in Europe for centuries. It literally started a war between the British and the Spanish, and it was the main reason for buccaneering, which literally, we did a video on buccaneers, but buccaneers were not only boarding and stealing cargo, which were gold and other plant stuff, but they were really going out to get logwood for the dye. And that was it was so profitable that they literally, pirates were going out looking for ships with wood on it so that they could steal it and transport it to Europe to sell. So by the 19th century, the new middle class in Europe included barristers, which were lawyers, judges, priests, and men in top hats and tailcoats. Think about historical photos when you see the big tall black tall hats, the waistcoats, the purple that the clergy or the Catholic Church used to wear, those colors, and the purple that royalty wore literally came out of logwood and the dyes from the Campeche tree, or the heart of the Campeche, Che Campeche. So it is native to the Yucatan Peninsula around Mexico. It was exported to the rest of the Caribbean, so it finds itself in Jamaica, in St. Lucia, and many other places. And did you know by the 17th and the 1800s, up to 13,000 tons of logwood a year were exported out of the Campeche Bay? That is what it was called, the Campeche Bay. The men that were used to do the logging were usually slaves, and either brought in from Africa, or Native Amerindians that were enslaved to do the logging. They waded in like waist-high swamp water to cut those logwoods, and it was a difficult and terrible living. There were alligators, snakes, all kinds of creatures living in the swamp. And then these colonies were developed strictly in Belize, especially around logwood harvesting, and they were called baymen. These men were called baymen. So, like I said, this thing was so important. It spurred on piracy. It helped develop the textile industry and dyeing in Europe. The idea of top hats, blacks, vibrant colors like purple was introduced through taking that product. So when you hear people say, oh my God, what effect did the Europeans brought civilization into the New World or into the Caribbean, they literally took things that spurred on their industry and took them out of the dark ages. Like I said, from cotton to pineapple to haze, another one that spurred on the textile industry through dyeing. Colors, beautiful colors. So before we wrap up, I'll just give you a few facts. So a synthetic substitute has not been found. It has been sought for this hematoxylin, but nature has created the perfect substance, which doesn't seem to be easily replicated. The logwood is derived dye was used to color soldiers' uniform in the American Civil War, World War I, and World War II as well. It is a mild astringent and can be used for the treatment of diarrhea. The Mayans were treating it for diarrhea as well when it was discovered, or the Spanish noticed they were using it. It's always that discovered, because that is from the perspective of the conqueror that they discovered. But all these things was a civilization that was using it, had developed it, and then it was like, oh my God, look, these people have this wonderful thing. We should co-opt it, take it over, and make tons of money from it and never give credit to them. About 50,000 tons of logwood are imported into the United Kingdom yearly. The most valuable coming from Campeche, which is the Campeche Bay in Brazil and Honduras, San Domingo and Jamaica also. Trees are harvested at 11 years old. 3-foot long logs are thus exported to get that dye. Dye nowadays are really used in medical dyeing as well. It's very important, still being used, because it is a wonderful substance, and a substitute still has not been found, especially for medical dyeing. Wonderful tree. So we started off with the idea of looking at this phrase coming out of the Creole culture of St. Lucia called the chair Campeche, which literally means the hat of the wood. We find out that Campeche is bloodwood. Campeche is a wonderful dye, and it innovated the textile industry in Europe when it was brought back into Europe, moving them from these drab grays and browns into beautiful blacks and purples and blues. So there you go, Campeche, the Campechian tree. And if you like the content, please hit the like button, subscribe, so I can bring you a lot more and continue on this journey. I must say it's quite enjoyable, and I will see you around for more.